We're on the air, Cindy. Well, I guess we're at the witching hour. It's 5 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Ask for the approval of the agenda. Moved by Bob, seconded by Marilyn. Any additions, deletions to the agenda? All those in favor? Carried. Ask if there's a declaration of conflict of interest or general nature thereof. Is there any? Let the record show there is none. Ask for the approval of the minutes of our previous meeting. Moved by Dieter, seconded by Bob. Any concerns? Questions concerning the minutes? All those in favor? Carried. Welcome everyone here to the meeting tonight. Anyone that wishes to speak to anything concerning the consents here, raise your hand and come and speak at the microphone. Give your name and your address. We don't mind criticism as long as it's constructive. Anyhow, carry on. Our first severance be 27 has been deferred already. Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, severance consent application B77 2023. It pertains to 99 Vardy Lake Road. The recommendation before committee this evening is for deferral to allow for staff additional time to review the proposal. This application was related to a previous application that the committee had made a decision upon, and the applicant had revised the overall development plan and provided an additional sketch, and staff are seeking additional time essentially to review the conformity and what provisions comply versus those that need variance relief. And that would be presented at a subsequent meeting into the future. Thank you.
So that means that the minor variance pertaining to that will also be deferred, right, Jason?
That's correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Further on in our agenda this evening, there's a corresponding minor variance application for the same property, 99 Vardy Lake Road, which we will be requesting it be deferred at that time, given the fact that we're not making consideration on the consent application through the.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Okay, moving on. Severance B37-2023. Pardon me?
Have a motion to defer that by the committee.
Oh, sorry. Defer. Moved by Bob, seconded by Marilyn. Thanks, Randy. All those in favor? Carried. Now, I guess we'll wait till we come to the minor variance. Did you defer it?
Do it all again.
Do it?
Do it all again for the time we get to that. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to severance. B37-2023, County Road 15, Storings. You want to join us at the table, Robert? Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This application, as you mentioned, B37-2023, pertaining to parcel 1, lot 1, on this overall development plan, applicable to the land holding known municipally as 501 County Road 15. It's a land holding owned by the Storings and operates as Storing Septic. The sketch is on the screen before us, before you as committee and members of the public. There are 4 different applications on this evening's agenda that relate to this overall land holding, 3 of which seek to to create new parcels, three new land holdings with one retained parcel, as well as a lot addition application in the northeast corner that seeks to enlarge an undersized lot that's already developed with a single family dwelling. The big land use, if you will, is the sewage lagoons that sit in the center portion of the proposed retained land holding that's, I believe, measuring approximately 45 hectares in size. The overall development plan doesn't propose to create any new development. It doesn't create or propose to expand any of the lagoons or any of the regulations that currently impose to this property through the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. The proposal for what we have before us as a municipality is to subdivide the existing houses off of this property, create essentially a down zone property, which would be Severance parcel number 3, as well as increase the size of an undersized lot in the northeast corner. The recommendations on the agenda are to approve from staff's perspective with a host of different conditions. For example, rezoning the property to ensure that it's aligned with our official plan and our zoning bylaws, survey the property, cash and move parkland, etc. That's a fairly standard set of conditions that I can speak to if there are questions. What has not been included on this evening's agenda and what has not been noted publicly to date, because the comments were received late, they were received on Monday of this week from our chief building official, our recommendation for the committee to defer applications related to severance number 1 and severance number 2 for the lot creation of the existing single family dwellings because of what's believed to be a cemetery on that northwest corner of the land holding. As you can see on the sketch before us on the screen, there's no indication as to where the cemetery rests. There's been a lack of information regarding if the proposed lot lines intersect or bisect that cemetery, if they'll sit on the retained parcel or the severed parcel as a whole. And we've not received comment from the BAO, the Bereavement Authority of Ontario, regarding the extent of that burial ground. And we've also received comment, or we have an understanding based on our records in office, that there is an element of public responsibility associated with the maintenance of that cemetery. For those reasons, there's question of, well, if the public entity is, if there's public requirement to maintain maintain that cemetery land, do we need an easement? Do we need a development agreement registered on title? And we want also further confirmation that we're not going to be hindering that land use and ensuring that it's appropriately considered given our proposed layout of lots. So for all those reasons, we as staff are recommending that severance number 1 and severance number 2 are deferred at tonight's meeting, and we make consideration for severance 3 and 4, which is the lot addition applications. I'm happy to answer any questions. The comments, I apologize for their tardiness. They've been printed. They've been circulated through these tables for our members of committee, and I'm happy to make them available publicly, as I understand that Mr. Storing, for example, hasn't yet been provided these due to the tardiness that we had received them. I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair, from members of the committee and or public.
Thank you, Jason. Members of the committee, have any questions? Robert, I'm sure you do.
I do. The cemetery issue is a red herring sprung on us at the last minute. I was aware that there was an old, I'm not sure if it's a family cemetery or if it's another piece of land. It's not very big, that's for sure. It is totally on what would be parcel number 1. We'll tell you about that. Access to it and that kind of stuff, I don't know. That's, you have to figure that out, I guess. The severances themselves in total And I'm here to represent Greg and Cheryl, of course, because they're away with their new granddaughter, or helping with the new granddaughter. The severances in total are simply to facilitate removing 2 homes and an extra piece from the property that are currently zoned as M4, which makes them waste management, as it's called, which doesn't make sense. The homes certainly need to be rezoned and should be taken off of that. Greg would like to sell his business, that's for sure. So in order not to have to sell his home, you have to do these severances. I know there have been some concerns raised about the severance. The advertising that I've put up on my MLS listing, somebody brought up that it talks about an expansion of the lagoons. Well, currently, Greg is licensed to put in 2.9 million liters of sewage in those lagoons. That's the total capacity. He's running at about 60%. So he certainly can, himself, can grow the business if he wants. He could take on more customers, whatever he wants to do to go. So there's no request to expand the business at all. Any request like that, I believe, probably would not even come to this committee, it would go to MOE, I would think, and have to go through all the appropriate hoops and all that kind of stuff. Any expansion would require the various committees and certainly the Township Council to approve it. There was a concern about any test wells or a question about test wells on the property, and there are test wells on the east boundary of the property back toward the river from the lagoons, and they're there and they're monitored regularly by a consulting company that Greg uses. There was also a concern about the proximity to the Salmon River, and by measurement, it's about 1,500 feet from where the end of the lagoon property is to the river, and the Conservation Authority certainly has no concerns with that. So the crux of it is that the severance is a very simple severance to divide the business part of the property off so that Greg can sell it if he wishes, or close it down. Whatever he wants to do with it, that's up to him after the fact. But we have to get the houses and this extra piece off. The extra piece between the lagoons and the river was kind of a Greg kind of wants to just keep that, and he's willing with any restrictions that go on it to not build on and stuff like this. He wants to keep it as a small acreage to hunt and cut wood on himself. That's the only reason that he wants to keep that piece of property. The 2 on the east side, of course, are residences. Number 4, which is the little small lot addition, is simply to be added to another little house that they own down by the river to make that lot bigger. Currently, that particular house sits on a closed road allowance about 66 feet wide, maybe 150 feet long. So this would make it a bigger lot. That's it.
Okay, we need a motion to defer 1 and 2. Yes, Marilyn? You're moving to,
I will move that we defer the severance on 1 and 2.
okay, moved by Marilyn, seconded by Bob. Any further discussion, concerns? All those in favor? Yes, Dieter, sorry.
No, I just want to make a comment. No concerns. I think the 1 and 2 applications, as far as I'm concerned, you put that quite well, Robert. And should the deferral mention that we want that further information about the cemetery, or can we add that in, or do we need to add that in?
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I do. I think the reason for deferral should be stated within, and the reason for deferral would make reference to the comments received by our chief building official dated February 5th. I would
Yeah,
that captures the extent of really what we're looking for from the applicant to respond with, and we'll be back in front of the committee once we have that to basically the satisfaction of our chief building official.
So the the deferral should read something to the effect that deferred until the known extents of the cemetery be mapped on the severance sketch so that the boundaries are established within the proposed sketch. That sound reasonable?
It does, and
Or-
through you, Mr. Chair, I think it should probably go an extent further to the paragraph below where it's making recommendation that we also give consideration to the existing accessory buildings, septic systems, wells, so that we have a fulsome understanding of we're not drawing a line where we shouldn't be on those proposed severed parcels.
Mover and the seconder agreeable to that?
I am. Thanks, Peter.
You've got all that, Cindy? Or Brandy? Got it? Okay, good enough. All those in favor? Carried.
We're not done, Bob.
You're not done yet, Robert. Sure, we still have more. Jason?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if we're working our way through the agenda, I think we're on to B38, 2023, which pertains to severance number 2. The recommendation is the same, and I suspect the mover and seconders and the sort of the recommended for deferral would be the same, but I think our clerk would like to make that known in the minutes and capture that before we jump forward to having discussion on the subsequent applications.
So I'll make the motion that we defer parcel number 2 with the same conditions that we did for the parcel 1.
Moved by Dieter, seconded by Bob. Any further discussion? Was the same? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, Jason, again.
B39, 2023, Mr. Chair, pertains to lot number 3 on 501 County Road 15. I gave a bit of an overview that was sort of collective on the whole parcel, and the one big component of this is the fact that the comments received from our chief building official on February 5th do not make a change to our recommendation that you as a committee have before you pertaining to severance number 3. As Mr. Storing alluded to, it's our understanding as well that the applicant wishes to subdivide parcel number 3 from the land holding as a whole to keep it in the family name for the purposes of like passive recreation, essentially. And you will note in the recommendation before you that condition number 7 proposes to ensure that that is legislated as opposed to just a goodwill action by changing the zoning from an M4 zone to a site-specific open space zone that would prohibit any sensitive land uses such as residential uses or construction activity on that proposed severed parcel number 3. And that obviously takes away any concerns from floodplain or high water mark associated with the Salmon River to the east. It also takes away any buffering that needs to be factored into it with respect to the sewage lagoons, which would abut the property to the west. The parcel that's proposed to be subdivided does maintain 200 meters of road frontage approximately on Thompson Hill Road. It's a fairly large size property in the sense that it's nearly 50 acres. And we have no concerns from a staffing perspective that by down zoning, I'll call it, to an open space zone, that there's a concern of having that coexist from a land use compatibility perspective with the sewage operations immediately to the west. I'm happy to answer anything further or have Mr. Storing expand on anything that I may have misspoke on.
Any questions, concerns from committee? Yes, Dieter?
Yeah, I kind of wondered what the purpose of that parcel 3 was, severance 3, considering the restrictions we're putting on it and considering the substantial comments that the Quinte Conservation Area put onto it. Robert said that, of course, Greg wants to keep that for, for firewood and hunting purposes and that, which sounds reasonable. The concern I still have, the boundary of that application or that parcel 3, the west boundary, based on my rough scaling, is about 230 meters from the septic ponds, which in a way is still quite close. And so the only concern I would express is that the retained parcel, which is the lagoons, again, I have no problem with that either. But if something should go wrong, the possibility that could impact parcel 3, and then now you're dealing with a separate owner. You know, if parcel 3, if that's, we didn't have to deal with that severance, it would stay with the lagoon. So if anything happens, then it's still within that M4 zoning, and it can be dealt with. When you separate that out, you're getting pretty close to those lagoons. So that's my only concern, whether, you know, that parcel 3 really would be better left with the retained parcel as part of the M4 zoning. It's just sort of my feeling on that. Robert, you could maybe explain.
I don't know if I can address your concerns, Peter, with having a separate owner on that at some point, and I assume that will happen. The lagoons will get sold to ABC, and Greg will still own the parcel between the lagoon and the river. And the only reason that Greg really wanted to keep those was because it's part of the original Storing family homestead, if you want. We wanted to keep a piece of it for hunting and recreation, cutting wood and whatever. I really don't know how to address your concern about it being a separate owner, but I think that the case would be that you run into any kind of a commercial operation that you might have next door to some other owner or something. You can run into the same problem. I mean, it's probably the same all over the whole township, that you could run into problems like that. You know, other than that, I really don't know how to answer that concern.
Yeah, maybe I'm you know, projecting something maybe that may never happen either. But that sort of I guess what I was getting at was that, okay, so if Greg probably eventually will sell his retained parcel with the holdings, and then that gets a new owner. But let's say, you know, Greg sells his parcel 3 some years down the road too, you know, and if something happens in the lagoons and it affects that parcel 3, if it were still part, and you're dealing with a third party owner there, all that, and you could, you know, you're into all kinds of maybe problems. And I'd almost my gut feeling was that parcel 3 should stay with the whole parcel.
You could have that same concern with anything, a gas station or anything where there's other owners around it. So I'm not sure that that's a concern that's big enough to prevent the severance from going through.
I do like the fact that, you know, we're going to restrict for any kind of a housing purposes or anything like that, which is good. And maybe that's more of a concern, although of course, if Greg ever sells it, someone can always rezone that. And, you know, the Conservation Authority have said, well, there's at least a quarter of an acre or 0.4 of an acre where you can build on, which is pretty tiny little piece. As I say, maybe.
Wasn't concerned, and Jason, I believe, has said that he would put restrictive covenants probably right on title.
No. Okay, well, that's, you know.
Anyone else have any concerns? Yes, Marilyn?
I wouldn't say it's a concern, but I just a clarification on.
Your microphone, Marilyn.
Sorry.
Not really a concern, but a clarification on those test wells and where they are located.
They're located to their, actually, I don't know if they show on that diagram or not, I don't think so. They're located, you can see where there's a jog in the east boundary of the property, and they're located right along that line apparently. The jog was put on to make sure that it was a good distance away from lagoons themselves. And I think Greg told me, I think there's 4 test wells through there. And he has a consulting company that monitors them regularly.
So here?
Yeah.
Okay. So they wouldn't be on that severed parcel
No,
3
no,
at all?
no, that
Okay.
was the purpose of putting that job on, was to make sure they were on the lagoon property.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Jason, you have anything further to add?
No.
Anyone else? I'd ask for approval or, yes. You step up, we can't hear you. Please. Yep.
My only question, not knowing any of these processes, would be if there is an ownership for the segment that has the lagoons on it, would that owner not be held accountable to maintain the integrity of the property as opposed to whomever owns lot 3 if the severance is successful?
Jason.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. It's a great question, ma'am. That's accurate. That's, for example, the test wells having to be on entirely the retained parcel. There's not an expectation that test wells go on a subsequent private property owner's lands that are then going to be the expectation of them. It is under the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks regulation that they're not adversely affecting a neighboring property through the operations of that facility. And that's why you typically see large setback areas. For example, you can see that the setback extends beyond the road itself of Thompson Hill Road. So even if there's a private property owner on the other side of the road, for example, they can be impacted as to where a building envelope is on their property so that there's protections in place for that land use. So it does tie to that landowner and the responsibilities of them. But the ARCs, for example, to monitor sensitive land uses can extend beyond the property themselves.
And they are inspected and monitored by MOB regularly.
That answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I need a motion to either accept or defer or deny. Yes, Bob? Motion to accept. Moved by Bob. You have a seconder? Marilyn? Any further discussion? Concerns? All those in favor? Carried. Okay. B40, lot addition. Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be quick on this. Northeast corner of the subject property, very undersized lot that's already developed. It measures approximately 0.3 of a hectare. It's already developed with a single family dwelling and it's proposed to be enlarged to essentially bring it into conformity with what we prescribe as new lot sizes at 2.5 acres. So this application is proposing to do so. And through that, similar to what we discussed previously, there's a recommendation before you that says, should we or you as Committee of Adjustment approve such a lot addition, that the lands be rezoned so that they're not in that waste management M4 zoning. They're in an appropriate rural residential zone to reflect the residential use that already exists on that land holding. There's, again, no new development proposed as it relates to this consent application. It's simply an enlargement of an existing lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. And yes, Dater, I see you got your light on.
Yeah, I got no comments. I'm just making a motion that we approve.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Dieter that we approve the lot addition, seconded by Bob. Any further discussion or concerns by anyone? Yes, Marilyn?
Just a clarification.
Your microphone, Marilyn.
I forget that. I'm sorry.
Maybe because I'm loud to begin with. Yes, I was just, I was thinking that you had mentioned, or yes, I think you mentioned that there was a house there already and that it's on an old road allowance.
Yes, there was the road allowance ran from Thompson Hill Road to the river, and it was closed, oh, this was supposed to be
Okay.
15 years ago now, I guess,
Okay.
maybe 20 years ago. And there was a little cabin on it that's been turned into a house. So the road allowance, I think it's a 66-foot wide road allowance, they can say, and it's about 150 feet long. And the house has been there, you know, as long as I can remember. It was originally a little cabin, hunting camp kind of thing.
I was just curious because on our drawing, it's, you know, it's indicating that the road allowance is there. And so was it just just out of curiosity, is it just a small section that was closed or was it the
The
whole?
section from the road to the river. was
Oh,
closed.
okay. Clear now. Thank you. That's fine.
Okay,
Yep. Thank you.
okay, it's been moved by Dieter and seconded by Bob that we approve this lot addition. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Can I go now?
You're free.
Thank you very much.
Take care, Robert. Severance number B70. Andrew, Donnie, you want to join us at the table, please? Yes, ma'am?
Sorry, excuse me, Chair Clancy. Richard and I didn't really know when we should formally speak, because we do have something to say about the storing application, and it was in general, not in regards to one particular severance.
Okay, I asked originally if anyone had anything to say.
And we raised
Originally, yes, but when we were dealing with this, we can let these people have their say. Is that okay? All right, join us at the table, turn the microphone on, you're on.
Sorry.
From you people on these particular items.
Do you want to go first?
My name is Richard, Mr. Chair, fellow committee members. My name is Richard Sachs. My wife Angela and I have lived on Thompson Hill Road since 1988. We share about 1,000 feet of road frontage with Greg and Cheryl Storing. With regards to these severance applications, we have no objection whatsoever to severances 1, 2, and 4 as identified on the sketch. As an adjacent property owner, I'm concerned about the potential hazards of greater development of the sewage lagoons and field spreading on the retained lands. The property and the business was listed on the market for just under $5 million, a steep price for a small independent operator to pay, but within reason for a large industrial operator. This is what triggered my interest in this. Such as a large waste management company whose expanded business would affect our enjoyment on our own home and will affect all of the neighboring property values. The original real estate listing by Robert described the business as fully licensed and inspected regularly by MOE, not operating at full potential, leaves room for expansion of business. Okay. Following my letter to Jason and to Township, this subsequent edited and more palatable real estate listing by Robert amended the line to say not operating at licensed capacity and leaves room to improve business, slightly more palatable. And the notices of application dated October 31 and January 8 both state no further development is proposed on the proposed retained parcel through the processing of these applications. This is good news. But our request is that the township qualifies the statements in the form of a zoning regulation or a bylaw or whatever legal vehicle it takes to maintain the status quo in perpetuity prior to granting severance on parcel number 3, the retained lands. This would mean no further lagoons to be dug, no additional field spreading permits granted, and no additional sewage dumping beyond the 2023 total truckloads. As well, a no development radius of 300 meters from the lagoon encroaches onto my land and prevents me from developing as I see fit.
How any previous owner of my land ever agreed to this is puzzling to me. The township has not yet responded to my November 13 letter request for clarification of this issue. Perhaps moving the lagoons south would alleviate the restrictions on my land. Ludicrous, but, not without reason. Everybody living downstream on the Salmon River should be concerned. News of atmospheric rivers, once in 100-year rainfalls and snowfalls, and other now common catastrophes are everyday news. A breached dike could spell potential disaster, seeing that the Salmon River is directly downhill from the lagoons that are sited on perhaps the highest point in the township. The Storing family has run a good operation going on 3 generations. We've lived close by for almost 40 years. Perhaps once or twice yearly do we smell the sewage if there is a rare southwest wind. We live with it. This is not a request to halt the operation, to put the storing operation out of business. It's a demand to maintain the status quo and to officially have no further development on the proposed retained lands in the future. With that official caveat, we would have no objection to the proposed severances. Respectfully, Angela and Richard Sachs.
Do you have something to add?
Yes, I do, please. Yes, Chair and Committee. I am Susan Moore and I represent Friends of the Salmon River, a community group I think you're aware of. We've been here for about 20 years and we like to keep an eye on the watershed. First of all, I want to make it clear that Friends of the Salmon very much respects the good work that the Storings have done in the many years they've owned their business. And we know it's regularly inspected by MOE, and we have no problem with the severances they're applying for. We are only concerned about a possible expansion of the sewage lagoons if and when the property is sold. And I know that that's already been mentioned, that perhaps this committee would not have any dealings with a possible expansion. So this part also goes to the township. And for some of this, basically the same reasons that Richard has mentioned, that the sewage lagoons are on very high ground, right above the Salmon River. I know Robert mentioned, yes, as the crow flies, it is a distance from the edge of the lagoons to the Salmon River, but it's all right down a very steep hill. So if lagoons were expanded and if there were a breach, that could be serious contamination. And the effect of extreme weather events such as intense rains and overflow could spill right down that steep slope and directly into the river, which would obviously be a very serious case of contamination all the way down. So basically, Friends of Salmon River would prefer that no new lagoons be built. We feel it's best for the community if the storing sewage business or its whoever follows, remains at the same level it is currently and retains the same vigilance they always have had on the condition of the lagoons. Thank you.
Yes, Robert?
I'll be loud enough to speak right from here.
Okay.
I have some concerns with the objections. I don't think it's up to this committee to decide the kind of things that Richard Sachs has asked for sure. To put restrictions on any expansion or stuff, that to me is a restriction of great rights as a property owner, that's for sure. The distance to the Salmon River, the Conservation Authority has no problem with it at all. They didn't seem to. They mentioned the elevation and they mentioned a fairly steep slope when you get close to the river, but they didn't have any objections to it at all. To try and move the lagoons, as Richard has alluded to, that it would be ideal if Storings would move the lagoons is pretty well an impossibility. That just isn't going to happen. And that's kind of a selfish request, I think, from Mr. Sachs, because he has to deal with the setback. Well, unfortunately, the lagoons have been there since about 1974, long before Mr. Sachs arrived on the scene. So if it impacts his severances, he knew about it long beforehand. And he did get his severances with some restrictions there, but he did get the severances that he wished. So the objections that both of these people have put forward, I think, have been dealt with if expansion of the property is to happen, it would only be currently growth of the usage of it, because it's only running at about 60% capacity of what it's allowed to do. If somebody wants to expand to take on some more fields of neighboring properties or something like that to spread it on, then they have to go through all the hoops of MOE, and I don't think that comes to this particular committee. Thank you.
Okay, Robert, I agree with you on your comment, and it's only my personal opinion that this committee, what these people are requesting, and I've said is not anything pertaining to any decisions we have. The decisions we make here are pertaining to minor variances and severances only. As to the expansion and whatever, that's beyond our control as far as I'm concerned. Only my thoughts. The rest of the committee can have their say. Yes, Dieter?
Yeah, I agree with you, Bob. It's really not in our purview to address your concerns. The only thing I can tell you with great confidence, if a new owner to that property decides they want to double the capacity way beyond what it's licensed for, you can be sure they'll be held to pay at council, or where the locals will address your concerns that way, like we've done on, they've done a lot of other issues as well. But as I say, we as a committee really can't address that. But I know if something like that does come to fruition, look at the hog barn there in Aaronsville, remember, that kind of stuff. The same thing will happen, and then people will have their say, and the council will act accordingly, I suppose, depending on the situation. But as I say, we really can't go any further than we have.
Yes, Robert?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it'd be primarily led by the Ministry of Conservation, Environment, and Parks, through consultation with the municipality. Of course, the municipality has to confirm that the zoning is applicable to allow for such a use before the ministry would allow for the granting of the expansion. So it'd be a sort of a partnership piece, and there'd be public consultation processes that would be underway through that proposal.
Okay. Thank you kindly. Sorry, Donnie. Andrew, would you join us at the table, please? I know you're going to be late for supper, but you'll be okay, won't you? Okay, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, application B70, 2023 pertains to parcel A on the property known municipally as 347 Moscow Road. This is on the north side of the road. There's an existing single-family dwelling on the parcel, and the sketch is on the screen for us for consideration. Application B70, B71, and B72 are what you're looking at on the screen. I will try to make this brief overview applicable to B70. It's a vacant parcel of land proposed to be severed, 1 hectare in size with 60 meters of road frontage in the absolute southwest corner of the landholding that would be zoned to permit the construction of a single-family dwelling should it be subdivided from the overall parcel. The existing house would sit immediately east of this, sorry, not immediately, but further east of this parcel. And the retained parcel would be approximately 28 hectares in size and continue to be used for agricultural uses. The proposal is not overly different than many other consent applications in which we see and give consideration to with respect to surplus dwellings or lot creations while maintaining agricultural viability on lands such as this. And I believe that to be the understanding of the two gentlemen here before you this evening, to subdivide the parcels that would meet the servicing needs of our municipality, given the fact that we're serviced via private water and sewer, and maintaining as much area as possible to continue in farming practices for their operations. I'm happy to answer any questions or let the applicants expand on anything that I've said. We have a recommendation for the committee to approve, subject to multiple conditions. There has been applications, this application has been circulated to all internal and external technical agencies, and there's been no comments that are noteworthy that have come back. However, they are all before you on your agenda this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Dieter?
Yeah, just one question. I noticed one of the conditions is probably that we ask for road widening. I noticed on the parcel to the west that there's already been a road widening done. So I don't know whether the if there's a road widening, is it automatic that the lots move back to be the 1 hectare? Is that sort of standard? I know as a surveyor, that would be the standard thing. But is that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's a great question.
Yeah.
Member Everhard, it really is. The condition, or sorry, the decision is worded to ensure that we get a 1 hectare lot created. So if we're losing, I'll make up 0.2 across the front for a widening, then it's going to be accommodated by pushing to the north slightly to ensure we get that 1 hectare. Yes.
Anyone else have any concerns? Donnie, Andrew, any concern?
The only comment we wanted to bring to the table was asking for a hydro G for these lots. The one comment we wanted to bring in was, so across the road, there was a dairy operation that's ran there for many years. So just a little bit of research, it 30 gallons of water is used per day per cow, and about 115 cows. So on average, they use 3,450 gallons per day, which works out to be 13,000 liters per day. An average house in a 3-bedroom house would use about 1,800 liters per day. So that barn alone would be 7 houses. So in our opinion, that's your hydro G right there. That there's a significant amount of water there. That's not going to affect it. Just over.
Just to give the community a little bit of history on it.
Yeah.
We're under the assumption there's not going to be any issue with getting good wells there.
Committee members, yes, Dieter, go for it.
Well, you're going to have
You're next, Bob.
you're going to have to drill wells anyways. So well, I don't see. Well, yeah, it involves more than drilling a well, testing the well. Anyways, maybe you can explain that process, Jason.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can explain the process, but I think these gentlemen are not going to want me to, or they're still going to contest what I explained in terms of a process. So I'll make reference to section of our official plan, section 5752 of our OP. And of course, this knowledge or this information that came forward this evening wasn't known, right? I understand that there was a dairy operation there. I didn't know the volumes, and I don't know the groundwater across the municipality. What we do at a policy level is take a broad brush approach and say if there's a density that's proposed of X, then we recommend that there be a hydro G study to confirm that we can support that density. And to get into that density, we look to our official plan, and this was, as you as committee are fairly, I think, aware that this is a recent update to our official plan, and it was done through consultation with Quinte Conservation at the time, and they gave us this number. So 5 dwellings and or the ability to develop 5 dwellings within a 300-meter radius is what they had used as a benchmark or a baseline as to when we should be asking for a hydro G study. So in all respects, when we at staff's level review an application that's creating 3 parcels that are 2.5 acres in size, that are primed for residential land uses. And you have the ability to create 2 more houses somewhere in the vicinity, then that's what the tipping point is in our official plan for asking for such a study. So that's the recommendation before the committee. Of course, committee makes the ultimate decision with regard to the recommendation and the inclusion of certain conditions. So I leave that in your hands.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, yes, Bob?
Is that our farm operation still running, or is it a dairy farm, or is it?
No, it's not operational.
That's part of it, that's part of the application, is to, zoning of the farm, I mean, what farms being removed. Yeah.
Yes, Bob?
Are we calling for hydrogen on each lot, or just for one hydrogen for the 3?
On each one.
Just for clarity, that can be done as one study. So yes, it's 3, I mean, for lot creation at 2.5 acres, we require a well to be installed on the lot. So in this instance, and with respect to economies of scale, what I would expect the applicants to do is drill 3 wells and complete 1 hydro G study that would give consideration to all of those at the same time. That's very customary to what we see. That being said, if you're looking at individual, the individual applications and the individual recommendations, it'll include that condition of a hydro G study, 1, 2, and 3 for each of those lots. Yeah.
Now, it's kind of skipping ahead, I think the ones across the road, that's happened for them as well. Hold on. Okay.
You want, Dieter?
I'm just wondering, you mentioned you thought there was a lot of water. There's a lot of water in the area. Of course, we don't know that. Well, I'm just,
We're trying to show you there was lots of water.
what was there before? Yeah. So I'm just wondering whether you're more concerned about the fact that it's gonna, there's gonna be costs involved in doing these hydro Gs. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want to be flippant about this, but you guys are creating 7 lots. And we're all right. I think. Yeah, right. So personally, I'd like to see those hydro G studies put in place. The other reason we're doing this is that every other severance, or almost every severance that comes by here, there's 9 times out of 10, or there's people come up here and say, we got water problems, we got water problems, we got water problems. And that happens here, there, and everywhere. So I think for everybody's comfort and everybody's saying that, we did everything right, that I think that those conditions would stay in there. And as I say, Jason said, you don't have to do 1 for every lot. You could combine those, to do them. So I'd like to see that those things stay in there.
Yes, Marilyn?
I would like to say that probably, even though there's a cost involved, down the road, this could help you, because if there ever was a problem, you can always say, we did everything we could.
Yes, Bob?
My question happened to have 3 wells. I mean, I'm happy with one on each one on the outside. It's really one of the tests for them.
Well, we'll study.
You still have to drill a well on each property, Bob, regardless.
But they don't have to do a test on each one.
Well, no, but I mean that the hydrogeologist will figure out what has to be done.
Well, I guess I can add my 2 cents worth. I sympathize with you having to go through that because of the expense, but I feel down the road, it covers yourselves and the municipality to know that if there is lots of water there and something happens down the road, like we know the water table is being lowered yearly. And when you people, I know you're going to build houses, that's your business. okay? And it would, I think it would be a good insurance clause for his, even though I sympathize with you having to spend that extra money. I think at the end of the day, it would be beneficial to you, even though you don't agree with me.
Yeah, we don't have to. Yeah, we can live with that. Yeah.
Pardon me?
I said we can live with that. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, I'm glad you're very understanding.
You're the ones got the hammer, so.
Well, let me tell you, there's times I would like to use it. But I haven't yet. Okay, anybody else have any concerns or questions on this one? Yes, Bob? What's that?
Just make sure the public has no questions or concerns.
I looked and nobody raised their hand. I seen somebody putting their coat on, but so I
want to make a comment after we make it. That's all.
I need a motion to approve, deny. Bob, which is it? Approve? Marilyn, you second it? Any further discussion? Anyone have any concerns? I'm looking at everybody in the audience. I don't see anything raised. How about you, Jason? Are you okay? I wouldn't want to miss you. All those in favor? Carried. Okay.
I wrote my opinion in the form.
B71, Jason, you're on again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to go through the overview. It's the same as the previous B70 in the fact it's a vacant lot and the same condition set have been recommended. There's a hydro-G included in this recommendation as well for all the same reasons. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any concerns or questions? Need a motion to approve? Seconded by Dieter. Any further concerns or questions? All those in favor? Carried. We got that one done. 72.
Mr. Chair, B72 is slightly different. There's an existing house that we're trying to draw lines around to ensure that it falls on the severed parcel entirely. It's a 1 hectare parcel, 60 meters of road frontage. The consistent building parcel configuration is with that of A and B, or what we've just considered through the B70 and 71. However, there's the existing single family dwelling. Again, notwithstanding that there's already an existing well, there's an existing house. We want to ensure that what that water is going to be sufficient to operate as an existing house and not adversely affect the neighboring well on what we expect to be constructed sometime in the future on severed parcel B. Happy to answer any questions.
Committee members have any concerns, questions? The well for the house, is it on a well on that side?
No, it's on severed B, so it'll be a new well for the house.
For the house, okay.
That's it.
Anyone have any questions? Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Bob, seconded by Marilyn to approve. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, Jason. 73. Got too many papers?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, B74, 2023, parcel B. Am I on the right application? Oh. 73, parcel A. Thank you. Barnside, south side of Moscow Road, same applicants. This application is similar, however, it's more related in closer proximity to an existing agricultural operation. The proposal is to subdivide a 1 hectare, 60 meter road frontage parcel on the westernmost extent which is immediately south of what we just considered through the original application set. Again, I'm going to jump to Hydro G because I suspect we're going to talk about it. Hydro G in this situation is being recommended back to my policy set where it's in our official plan that speaks to 5 houses within a 300-meter area. The 3 lots on the north side of the road that we just considered are what are putting us into the requirement for, based on our policy set for a Hydro G on this parcel, because they're picked up in that radius when factoring in a new house on the severed parcel A. So for that reason, we're in that same policy set as to why we're recommending a Hydro G study for this severed parcel A on the south side. The other piece that I want to bring up is this, the agricultural operation. And the applicants are aware, for the committee's sake, that there has to be a change of use permit that's applied to the operation to prevent livestock from occupying the barn. As you've heard already this evening, it was a former dairy operation that I believe is not the intent because the applicant's willingness to proceed through this change of use permit. And the reason that you would do such is to negate the MDS or minimum distance separation setback requirement and allow for sensitive land uses like single family dwellings to be constructed on newly severed lots. That doesn't mean that all of the agricultural buildings on the property, on the proposed retained lots, are to be demolished. There's some purpose-built storage buildings. There's a coverall building that's used for hay, and there's a machinery storage building, as well as I think it's called a shop, but we'll call it another agricultural accessory building. That's not a design building for agricultural or for livestock. Sorry. So those buildings are all proposed to be maintained. You can see on the screen the building that's to be demolished. That was the purpose-built dairy barn that would be, if it's removed, it would negate the MDS requirement and allow for these applications to proceed in compliance with OMAFRA's guidelines for separating incompatible land uses. I'm happy to answer any questions, Your Chair.
Yes, Dieter?
Yeah, this is kind of, we're just dealing with A, but I'm going to just talk about that south of the road. Is that all right? Yeah, I was kind of disappointed to see you guys are going to tear down a perfectly good barn there. However, I guess that's, pardon? Dairy operation. Whatever. Yeah, okay.
I was just
I'm
gonna
just, yeah. I know,
gonna say that, Donnie. Yep,
no, it's just, that's just what hit me when I went by. I said, there's a beautiful stone house and an old farm and a big thing. No.
It's pretty tired. You go in, it's old,
Yeah.
it's virtually.
Well,
It's
okay, no, I
tired.
mean,
it's tired.
yeah, we don't belabor that I don't, but I'm just wondering, you've got now the retained parcel, which has 26 hectares. You've got the severed B parcel, which is about the same size, 28 hectares. And there's a lot of good farmland in there too, obviously. So my question is that you're going to obviously sell these, right? Obviously put them on the market. What's somebody going to be able to do with like 26 hectares? And they can't put a barn up, or they can't do anything anymore. Like somebody wants to farm that, but they can't because
That's not us for to decide.
it's not for us to decide. I know. It's so sad though, somehow. Sad. See, it seems sad, like this huge parcels of land.
Well, through you, it's not as though they couldn't put a barn up. They might not be able to put a barn up in the location that barn rests today.
Yeah.
If they put a barn up on that parcel, it would just need to meet the setback
The
requirements from the
MDS,
houses.
the MDS setbacks. Yeah. Yeah.
It's marginal land at best, and that's what our thoughts are, is the
and or B.
I have one question for you. But behind that barn, there is a manure pit, right? What's gonna become of that?
It's empty now, so it'll have to be filled in.
You're gonna fill it? Okay.
Is that part of it?
Through you, manure pits are factored in MDS setback requirements, same as barns. And by like changing the use and getting rid of that, it would negate that setback. So that's a requirement basically to create what is being proposed in terms of lot creation.
I guess when you're tearing the barn down, I really can't see either one of you two milking cows. To be quite honest with you. Anyhow, anyone else have any concerns or questions? Need a mover and a seconder to approve. Moved by Bob, seconded by Marilyn. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, Jason, we have one more.
'74. Mr. Chair, if I'm on the right
74.
application, B 74, 2023, sever parcel B. It's on the south side of the road. It's got an existing agricultural facility, portion of it proposed to be demolished, the rest to be remain and used for storage. You'll see the condition set's slightly different. This is a parcel that's proposed to be nearly plus or minus 50 acres, 28 and a half hectares. What our zoning allows for a parcel that's got 140 meters of road frontage and 30 hectares in size is an agricultural operation. To member Eberhardt's question earlier, somebody could purchase this and use this for an agricultural operation with never constructing a house, given the size, and that would be compliant with zoning. So for that reason, we don't have a recommendation before you that the applicants install a well nor complete a hydro-G study to support any future residential use. All that being said, it may happen. The zoning allows for it, but the zoning also is more permissive in the fact that non-residential uses are permitted given the size of the land holding. That's the biggest difference, and the reason for the lesser conditions that what you have seen from previous applications as compared to this B74 2023. Thanks.
Anyone have any questions or concerns? Need a motion to approve? Moved by Dieter, seconded by Bob. Any further questions? All those in favor? Carried. On to 75, Jason.
75, 2023, sever parcel C, northeast corner of the subject property. We're back to the residential type land uses, areas and frontages that are consistent with the permissions of a residential or single family dwelling to be constructed. For those reasons, we're back into the conditions of wells and hydro-G study recommendations. The other thing to note is the applicant's actually proposing to exceed the frontage requirement by 20 meters. So it's a larger parcel with regards to that frontage perspective. And it's to break up essentially and not entirely hit just the minimum thresholds, but be slightly over in regard to the frontage, which allows for reduced depth on the parcel and take away from negating more farmland basically to the rear of the land holding. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Dieter.
This is more in jest. When I first looked on this on Google Earth, I said, aha, Jason forgot about the barn next door. So this great big huge barn, see right next door? So I got out there the other day, someone turned it into a house. So, okay, no problem.
Need a motion to moved by Dieter, second by Bob, to approve. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, Jason, 76.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. B 76, 2023. Further to the east, on the south side of the road, our applicants are continuing. Proposing to subdivide a land holding into 2 parcels that are sufficiently sized for agricultural operations. 22 hectares in area with nearly the frontage that you need for agricultural uses. And you'll see that later on in the agenda. We're proposing to reduce the frontage requirement to permit 95 plus or minus meters in allowing those non-residential uses to be still permitted. That applies to the retained parcel. I know we're talking about the severed parcel through this, but it's really part and parcel, given the fact if you don't create the severed, you're not going to worry about the retained on the frontage on the retained. So be mindful of that. There's no recommendation, given the area, that we include the installation of a well, nor a hydro G study. It's a standard condition set. All tech agencies have reviewed this and have no concerns. All the comments are included within. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Marlon?
Well, I suppose I should have said this earlier for these beautiful lots that are huge and somebody decides to build a house like with a 2-mile long driveway. We don't really have anything against that, but just the aesthetics, maybe. Anyway, just a comment.
Yes, Jason?
Member Fenwick, thank you for bringing that up. It's a great comment. You're right. Currently, we don't refine a building envelope on a land holding. We set the minimums. We don't set maximums. For those of you who've followed council of recent, I'll go out on a limb and say we're probably going to start restricting maximums based on what we've heard from members of the community and what I'm hearing from council and what you're going to see presented on February 20th. There's concern in our community with that exact comment. Building a dwelling or constructing or planting trees or driveways that are making farmland more difficult to farm. And the idea being, if we can instill some requirements that restrict where on-site development happens, there's a higher probability that it be maintained and preserved as viable farmland. Again, it doesn't necessarily have a bearing on this application, but should it be approved and should a future development building permit be pulled, there could be a zoning bylaw at that time that is restrictive of that type of development.
So on a situation like this, just one clear, on a situation like this, you would put a building envelope on those 2 parcels where you could build this.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah. So I'm just gonna go to the screen and I'll point it out. So firstly, I don't know what the policy set's gonna say yet, the regs are gonna say yet, we're still working on those. But the idea is, if right now you have a minimum front yard setback of 10 meters, I'll make it up. Yeah. You also have a maximum front yard setback of 100 meters. Yeah. So now you've got an ability to build in this portion of the parcel, yeah, as opposed to if you really wanted to put the house way back here.
And why I have a beautiful maple bush at the back of that, and I want to build a driveway back there, and I want to put the hydro back there, and I want a well back there. Who is council to say that it can't?
I hope to see you on the 20th in front of council, because those are valid concerns. And what that, if it is something that's adopted and implemented, would necessitate would be a minor variance or a zoning amendment to change those regs or performance standards to allow for you to build in that maple bush example.
Like, I'm all for farmland and restricting people.
I look to my left. My chair and I have had this conversation over the past couple months. You have swamps, low areas, wetlands. You have nice knolls that allow for sunsets and views of farm fields that people desire for aesthetic reasons. writing a policy that is municipal wide is difficult because you're now trying to make everybody follow suit with what that single restriction is. And it's a tough thing to do. I'm following the direction that I've been given by council and the recommendation that they're going to have to contemplate in putting in is going to make those types of decisions municipal wide.
I'm sure the two of you know why this is all coming about. Okay. Yes, Dieter?
Yeah, I have one concern. I was looking at the severance sketch. And I'm looking at the aerial photography, and I'm trying to reconcile that. The new dividing line you're proposing, is this following an existing fence line all the way from Moscow Road down to the concession? Yeah, except I just can't see the diversion on the area, on my aerial photograph. It just doesn't exist. I'm just wondering whether,
The tree line doesn't go all the way to the road. It starts, back probably, 40 meters, 50 meters.
no, well, when I look, doesn't look like it on the aerial photography.
The reason is on a bit of an angle, we tried to follow the tree line as best as possible with keeping the road frontage, what we needed it to be. So that, yes, that line is there to follow the tree line and keep within our, road frontage limits. Without having a geography stuff.
Yeah.
The fellow that sold you sold him.
And the rules change.
I think that's the corner.
Oh, you sold trainers right now.
Yeah. Yeah, which I would say that's a lot wider on this.
What's that?
Like from.
The sketch shows it the other way. It shows the one on the west being much wider than the one on the east. So I'm just wondering whether this fellow doing the sketch there was kind of, if you look to me like a common people there, right? You've got your 90 there and you got your 100 up there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
He was an intern from Toronto.
Well, it should fit. I don't
No,
know.
he's not.
Can I show you this, Jason? Because, you know, I mean, this is I'm a surveyor, right?
We don't want it on the tree.
I look at.
The intent is to follow the tree line.
Yeah.
I've had
And you've seen it too then, look.
I've
That goes straight down and divides it. There's no jog like that.
It's, that's interesting. Danny Tom.
Okay, we need a motion to approve. Moved by Bob. Seconded by Merrill.
All right. As
All
long as you
those in
guys, as
favor?
long as you do it along the
Carried.
fence. Okay, great.
All right, we're on to
All right.
minor variances. And the first one, I would ask for a deferral. Moved by Bob. Do I have a seconder? Marilyn, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Next one, A18, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're back to the north side, property address of 347 Moscow Road. The consent applications of 60 meters each leave the retained parcel with approximately 97 meters of road frontage, according to the surveyor, which is 3 meters shy of what we require to be 100 meters of road frontage for non-residential uses or agricultural uses. So this application is proposing to reduce that frontage requirement from 100 to 97 to allow for, of course, the continued agricultural operations on that retained parcel of 28 hectares. Happy to answer any questions. In the view of staff, the application meets the 4 tests as prescribed under the Act. and there's no objections from any of the technical review agencies.
Anyone have any concerns, questions? Mover to approve, moved by Bob, second by Marilyn to approve. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the last one, A19, Jason. Winter variance, Moscow Road.
A19, it's the easternmost parcel on the southern side, very similar to what I just described on the north side. And we've had conversation about with where that proposed interior lot line is. The intent is to follow the tree line that separates these fields. And by doing so, we're slightly lesser than what we need on the western parcel by 5 meters. So again, we're proposing to reduce from 100 to 95 in terms of frontage to allow for that 32 hectare retained parcel to be used for non-residential uses in our zoning bylaw. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Bob?
I think it's more important to keep the tree line than to 5 feet.
I agree. Now, I'm going to get back to that sketch again. If I measure down at the concession, it's 439 feet if you put the two dimensions together. When I do my Google Earth measurement, I get 384 meters across that lot. So there's something wrong with that Severn sketch. I hate to say it. It may not be 31 hectares either. I'll have to talk to my associate, Tom, my old associate, and tell him what the heck he did wrong here, because there is something wrong with that sketch. I'm sorry, there is.
Through Mr.
Not the depth, at the south, Brent, or Cindy, can you?
Did you lose
put
something,
that up to
Peter?
the top there?
Ask him if he
Yeah,
wants-
you add up that
ask him if he wants to.
275 and 164, you get 439 meters. And if you do Google Earth, I get 384 across the bottom of that lot. Yeah, so there's something wrong with that sketch. So as long as we do that fence line down through there, it'll sort itself out. So I don't know what happened to that sketch. And that's not the first mistake I've seen in the sketch. On Robert Storing's, there's a mistake too. If you look at the south end, I was going to mention that, I forgot. At the bottom, they got it's 100 meters and then, or 150 meters and then 150 meters to the river. But it's like, see, yeah. You got 150 meters and then another 150 meters to the river. And it's actually on, like it's twice as much as 150. So I don't know. That's, yeah, I shouldn't have retired. Like, it bugs me.
Okay, how do you want to deal with this one?
Well, no, it's just.
That's
we're-
Robert.
we're-
Motion to approve, Marilyn,
Second.
you second it?
Yeah. I'm
All those
fine.
in favor?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Carried.
I just,
Peter does have to talk to these
I do
people.
have a question.
Have a good one.
If we go to get the survey and we want to follow that tree line, can we just, if we keep the road frontage line, like the.
well, you've done that.
Can I change that angle to follow the tree line because those numbers change to the back? Is that what?
Yeah, there's something wrong with that sketch. There's no,
Whatever.
the lot is,
Does it really matter?
well, it's gonna,
Yeah. I hear you're taking a break. See you in a bit.
Yeah, thanks. I'll give the updates to these guys, but I'll be gone for a couple minutes.
Beef burger.
Take care, Donnie.
Yeah. You too. Thank you guys. Bye.
See you, Andrew.
Thanks, guys. Mike hasn't burned the hook down yet. No. See ya.
I was scared.
Other business, do we have any?
I do, Mr. Chair. With respect to other business, I just want to inform members of committee that I'll be leaving the municipality for an extended period of time towards the end of this month. I'll be away for the month of March and the large part of April. Probably be back in the office for May. I'll be taking a parental leave, leave of absence from my duties here as in the municipality. So from a staffing perspective, it hasn't entirely been confirmed as how it's going to work on the administration front. However, from a planning front, my colleagues at IBI Group or Arcadis will assist Cindy and others in the operations from a registered professional planning perspective. So there may be some applications that come forward during my absence that you have opinions from another planner. So I just wanted to give that as an FYI that you might not see me around here for a little while.
You are coming back.
Thanks.
in.
Yes, the plan.
Well, Jason, we'll miss you, but I know that I have dealt with IBI in the past, and they are a very reputable organization. Some people don't think so, but I've had a lot of good experiences with them, and I found that they were very approachable people to work with.
Well, Jason, I just think that this is wonderful, that you're going to look after your little.
I think he's going on the holiday in the sun.
Thank you.
Oh, of course he will.
Anyone have anything else for this committee? I will ask for an adjournment, moved by Bob, seconded by Dieter. All those in favor? Carried.